those social media influencer, social media podcast as well for some of them mislead the boys, change the perception of life, change the perception of goals, of values, and what should be important for you to grow, become a man, but also for your mental health.
Well, it's a culture of comparison.
Exactly.
And before you could only compare yourself to a limited number of people because you didn't have
Yes.
exposure to others. And now you're comparing yourself to other 21-year-olds who happen to have made it big from, one TikTok post or
Yeah, yeah,
whatnot. And
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's very demotivating and
Very.
depressing.
Welcome back to Read It Right.
I'm Elle.
And I'm Fab.
And here at Relate Right, we're all about relationships and helping you connect better with each other. And today we're going to talk about a very heavy subject, but very necessary: the importance of men's mental health. The importance of men's mental health is not only critical to a quality relationship and marriage, but it's also obviously critical to your own personal well-being.
It's vital. It's, I would say, it's everything because if you have issue with your mental health, it will impact every different part of your life. So not just what is inside your body, but your work, your relationships, your your vision, your goals, everything,
Your self-esteem
your
even.
self-esteem,
Yeah.
your emotions, everything. So yeah, it's very important. The crazy thing, it's that we don't, I would say, value this that much. You know what I mean? As men, we
Yeah.
don't. Of course, we see that there is research and topics about it, but as an individual man, we don't really talk about it. You know?
Well, yeah, like there is a stigma where
Yeah,
men's mental health is kind of, you know, embarrassing. It's embarrassing to struggle with mental health
yeah,
as a man. It's shameful. It's looked at as weak. And then even when men try to say that something is wrong, a lot of the times societal, expectations will kind of diminish those needs
yeah,
and even dismiss the
yeah.
needs of men. So it is difficult in this society to seek help as a man. It's a very brave and courageous thing to do because, you feel very judged, and you have internal conflict when you try to do so.
I mean, we have been taught that we should not ask for help. That's the thing
Yeah.
as well.
You've been,
Because you're a
yeah.
man,
Yeah.
you can figure it out. It's not that bad. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's the thing. When they teach you that when you are a child, when they teach you that men don't cry, when they teach you all these prejudices, or I don't know how we can say that about men, about how a man should be in a patriarchal society,
Yeah.
then when you are growing, you're messed up.
I mean, it's crazy because, like, as you're talking, I'm just thinking of like the old time saying how men never ask for directions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
oh,
they're
yeah.
like, they'll
And they
always get
always,
lost.
yeah, they always get lost. Yeah.
It's funny, but it's such a small
It's
example
a,
of how,
yeah.
yeah, masculinity is viewed. Like, you literally can't ask for directions
And
because
this,
it's embarrassing.
yeah, totally. And the same way, in the same example, you in generally you have a girl next to the man,
Right,
and
right, right, right.
she told him, "Look, we already passed next to this tree,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
even if the guy recognize it, in his first reaction is like, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry. So it's the same thing we do with our emotion.
Yeah.
We diminish or even try to
Just, yeah, lock it
put
up in a box, suppress
exactly
it.
exactly put
Yeah.
them on the side, and let's go further, because that's how we've been.
Condition.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a lot of compassion for men's mental health.
Yeah, yeah,
Men are statistically 4 times more likely to be addicted to substances
yeah,
than women. A lot of that has to do with having mental health challenges like anxiety, depression, very, very common things
yeah.
that when you leave unaddressed, you start to self-medicate instead of asking for help. And it's a vicious cycle because once you start to do that, other patterns of behavior start to develop.
So as you talk about that, it's like when you talk about, for example, the addiction. As women are better to deal with their emotion, doesn't mean that they don't have mental health issue.
Oh, yeah, of
But
course.
it's mean like, I feel like in the process of recognizing that they have a problem, they are way better than us. Then that's why you have this result of men who are more and easier and who get addicted to drugs
Yeah.
faster than women.
I would say that from a woman's perspective, when we have a problem, we will talk that problem through with our friends
Yeah,
till that till that problem doesn't exist. Like it could take 2
Yeah.
years and we constantly will
Yeah.
like we will seek out our female friendships, our circle to talk, to cry, to laugh, to do activities together. And just we'll seek that companionship and that advice, and in some ways that's a therapy for us. What I see as a difference is that men don't feel comfortable doing that.
no, because we are all educated the same way.
Right.
So of course you will never talk about something who's too deep about ourselves. We can talk about deep things sometimes,
Yeah.
but not about ourselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? How many time, even for me, it's the same. How many time I had maybe question, or I don't know, things in my mind, and I was with a group of friends, and I do like nothing's happened. Even if I hear someone talk about the same problem,
Right.
I would say, oh, okay, but I won't say, oh, me too.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? And now I change because I understand also that everyone don't have the same level of mental health issue, but
Yeah,
we
of
all have
course.
issue.
Yeah. Well, we're all dealing with life, right? And life comes with challenges, and there's going to be high moments
Exactly.
and there's going to be low moments, and it's how we approach those moments that essentially also build our character and our mental wellness.
You know, I always say that there is people who talk about their problem,
Yes.
and there is some who don't.
Right.
But we all have problem. You know,
Yes.
when you think about that, when you put this in your mind, you know that even if you are the only one who talk about your problem, the one who's next to you just doesn't mean that he don't have them. Not the same, but other problem, of course.
Yes.
But doesn't mean that he don't have them.
I agree with you. And you know, the other thing that as you're talking, and I'm just like picturing a group of guys talking, and your friends and people I've seen, my friends in the past. And I have had experience in seeing men express themselves around their feelings and their
Yeah.
thoughts and maybe even questions, right? Not often, but even when they do, it's as if they're not necessarily looking for a solution. It's even when they say it out loud, it's not a therapy, right? Because it's probably like one and done. Their mindset is not solutions focused. It's either complaining,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I know.
And in some ways victimizing themselves. Or it's that complete disassociation from the problem,
Oh, yeah.
whereas like women, even when women complain, like I've been there. I have probably talked about the same thing with my friends 5,000 times in different ways.
Yeah.
And even if it was complaining, and even if they gave me advice and I didn't take it because in that moment, I didn't want to, I just needed to vent.
Yeah.
Eventually, like, I had the space to do it.
Yeah.
And with having repeated conversations and different ways of analyzing the situations and different ways of approaching it, I was able to get over it, Whereas for men, it never goes that deep.
It's what I was saying before. It's because of our education as
Yeah.
well. And what and how should be a man in this society?
Right.
The strong, stoic man without emotion, like a statue, when you see,
Right.
and you have to be like that. That's the patriarchal way to see how men should be. But just to add something on what you said, when you said that you are talking 5,000 times about the same subject, but you don't seek, you're not seeking advices, it's because you are unconsciously doing the first step of healing.
Right. Right.
And that's the thing. And that's what I said, just to come back on the addiction. That's what I said, that men are more addict than women, or become addict faster than women. It's because they never do the first step of healing.
Yeah.
We never do it.
Right.
We keep the problem inside ourselves. So even if I don't say that, it's not because you're going to talk to your friends that you're going to have your solution.
Of
but
course.
at least you're going to be able to reflect
Right.
after the discussion, because it's not all our friends who even going to be able to answer,
And that's the thing as well. That's the other challenge that men face, is that even when they do try
Yeah.
to have a conversation, they don't get what they need from that. They don't get the support they need. They maybe don't even get the acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And so a lot of men tend to self-isolate.
Yeah.
And we know when people isolate themselves, they start to think of other solutions.
Yeah.
And the more you're by yourself, the more you're in your mind, the more, if you're turning to substance abuse, it can actually lead to criminal activity. It can lead to erratic behavior. And statistically, men are 12 times more likely to get incarcerated
Yeah.
because of these issues.
And there is more women on earth than men.
Oh, there is that as well.
No,
Yeah.
but imagine there is
Right.
more women, but still there is more men incarcerated.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just an it's not crazy actually, because like we said, we don't know how to deal with our emotion. We don't know how to deal with our problem. We don't have a courses or a school to teach us, or even our parents to teach us as men how to deal with our emotion. And you know what? I don't even think that they teach that to their daughter as well. But it's just like they let them be emotional at least.
Well, that's
You know what I mean?
exactly right.
Well, we don't.
And this is the thing,
You're
because
weak.
yeah, but you see how interestingly that is positioned.
Yeah.
Women can cry and be emotional, and it's looked at as, sometimes even crazy. We get called crazy for being emotional,
Yeah.
and it's looked at as weakness.
Yeah.
But when you look at all the statistics and the facts, in some ways, it's actually making us stronger. Like it's proving that emotions make us stronger.
Yes.
Because even when you look at, like, in society right now, women are surpassing men in education, they're surpassing men in employment,
Yeah.
and they're making better decisions. And that is because the best decisions are made with both logic and emotion, not just logic.
And to add on what you said, there is a lack of role model. There is lack of men in the house also, which is very important. Two parents are very important. It's not just the woman, not just the mother, not just the father. Both of them are important for the mental health of the man and the daughter. But we talk about men, of the man, and for example, I didn't live with my dad,
Yeah.
and the result of that lead to issues as well that I could figure it out, but there wasn't that big because mom did a great job.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I don't say that the one who have mental health issue mean that the mom didn't do a great job. Because we have different lives. You know,
Absolutely.
but imagine how you can be affected, how your whole life can be affected just because your not just but because your father wasn't there.
Of course.
You couldn't, and also on top of it, because your father is not there, because you don't have your principal role model, then you're gonna seek to find one. And what do you have? Movies,
Mm-hmm.
rap,
Yep. Yep.
whatever you see, whatever will
Entertain.
get your attention. And now on social media, like you said, Andrew Tate,
Yep.
Joe Rogan,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Peterson, and all these
Mm-hmm.
guys,
Mm-hmm.
that those guys who you take for example.
Yeah.
Why I don't think it's a good idea, but we're gonna touch on this after.
Yeah. As I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of research about fathers in the home for daughters
Yeah.
and how vital it is for women. And, I've seen women even be judged for not coming from a two-parent household. And, I've seen men even say, I want a girl who has two parents,
Yeah.
or you have daddy issues, things like that. Whereas we, again, are ignoring the significance of a male role model for a man, a young boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because masculinity or growing into masculinity is difficult from child to man.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I can't understand it fully. I'm a woman, but
Yeah.
but from what I see and hear, it is very difficult, especially in a society where boys are not allowed to feel
Yeah.
and boys are not guided to deal with life or what a man should pursue in life, what type of goals he should have, what type of attitudes he should have, where he should direct his frustrations, or how he should deal with them, or how he should pursue girls. There's
Yeah.
so many things that sound maybe simple, but they're really not for a child to figure out all on his own.
In those society, there is no tradition. There is no tradition, and for me, I feel like the fact that there is no tradition anymore, the fact that, like you said, your role model can be anything, your value can be whatever, because it's depend what you are watching when you were a child. It's
Right.
depend of all those different parameter who come from outside your own family.
Right.
Because of this, you don't know the real value of a family. You don't know what should be your real goals. Because when you have 20 years old and 18 years old, your goal is to have a good car,
Your goal is to have a good
a
time.
good time, but you're dreaming about a car.
Right,
I
right,
remember about that.
right.
We are dreaming about having a car.
Okay.
We are dreaming about, because the car mean you could have girl, because also the car mean that in this society of
You have yeah,
materialistic society, it mean like you're someone, you know
you have a
you
status.
have a
Yeah, you're
status,
someone important. Yeah.
so tradition
But
block this problem. And I don't talk about religious
no,
traditional thing, I talk about tradition.
listen, I hear you. I think tradition is important, but in my opinion more important is community.
It come with tradition.
It can, but community you can make your own traditions in a
Oh
community.
yeah, but yeah,
But
yeah.
the thing is community. Everything is so individualistic.
Yes. Yes.
And so even people who have, two-parent households, they don't have maybe their uncles and aunties. They don't maybe have a lot of friends. They don't
Not
got
anymore.
time for that.
Not anymore. Because also, I keep saying that all the time. the root of all those problems is this system. Is the way we are living. Is the
It's
way the system force us to act, force us to leave our country,
yeah.
force us to go somewhere to find a job because we've seen that there is an El Dorado in the capital or something like that. Force us to leave our land because when you're a farmer or when you are some things, you are the lowest in the society. Why it is the contrary? Because those people are the one who make us stay alive,
Right.
and how we can, that's why we can eat and go to the grocery and eat now. So there is so much things in this system who make us leave our tradition, leave our community, separate us from our family.
Right.
Then then when you are far away, you have no tradition, or yeah, I would say no tradition or no sense of
Belonging. And that
belonging.
is exactly what people seek,
you
is a
became
sense of belonging.
you became a good consumer.
That's exactly right. And as you're talking, it just like kind of lit a fire in me, and I'm thinking this is the age of the rise of the ego. Because even with all the things that you said,
Yeah.
right? Even when there is trouble in a home and a child is having a problem,
Yeah.
and friends and family in this individualistic world try to or attempt to assist, they're shut down
Yes.
because of the ego of the parents, because of the embarrassment. And again, that child is being isolated when in fact, that is exactly what they need. They need intervention. They need to feel concern, love, and discipline from multiple people. There's a reason why we say it takes a village to raise a child, male or female. But it's literally an embarrassing thing, not even just for the child, but for the parents as well. And it's crazy how a lack of community, a lack of tradition, a lack of I guess a lack of that feeling of belonging can make a person just focus on themselves.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, a lack of all those things, it's a problem in those society because the system gonna take you and swallow you. You know what I
But yeah,
mean?
that's
And
exactly
then
what's
after,
happening.
put you back in the world. Then you've been programmed with all those materialistic ego, selfishness mindset. And that's
Right.
that's why it's so important now, because when I'm looking from the first human who were in villages and who understand that community is most important than everything, because it's not, you don't make an action for yourself.
Right.
I make some things for you, you make some things for me, he makes some things for her, etc., etc., and then we are living together. You know what I mean? And then even if dad is not there, as we have a tradition and we are in community,
Right.
you're not going to be lost. You're not going to have new perception of life who go against your family, who make you become an enemy of your own family. You're
Right.
not going to have this because everyone still follow the tradition. So even if dad or mom are not there, even if some things happen, because it can happen in life,
Yeah.
you're still going to feel that you are in a family.
You're going to feel a sense of belonging, and that is why a lot of young boys also turn to gangs, for example, because gangs make you feel like you belong somewhere,
Yeah,
like they will protect you, like there's something bigger than them.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's a real challenge to raise a boy in this society.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge, and even more when you are living in ghetto, even more when you are in those areas where there is crimes.
Yeah.
It's very hard because at the same time, the people who's there, for example, to take an example, they have to work. So you have to go out. You're not 100% with every day with your child,
Right.
and you can't. You know what I mean? So without strong value, without strong mindset, and even I don't know, without goals, big goals for this child, he's just gonna be another
But even the education
gang
system
member.
is against them. You know what I mean?
Of
Even
course,
the education system. I mean, a lot of the time, and now I think we're going a bit deep, but
yeah,
that it's about curriculum. It's about passing tests. It's about
yeah,
getting into college. The goal of education is not even to educate anymore. It's to I don't know, take a checkbox and just make sure that you pass some stupid, standardized test. And that's the worst thing you can also do for young minds,
yeah,
to put them all in the same category, because everybody is different. And so
yeah.
schools don't have things for boys, or I mean even girls, that teach emotional intelligence or how to deal
No,
with life or anything that actually has to do with life. I'm not saying math and science are not important. I'm not saying spelling is not important. I'm just saying there's a lack of life skills, a lack of critical thinking in schools these days, and
but
everyone's being judged on the same tests,
those
but everybody learns differently.
those type of school never been there to teach you that. It's there to teach you how to follow the rules. You know, when the ring bell,
But that's
you
the
go out to eat. When the real bell, you go back. When the real bell, it's the next school. It's the next matcher. You know,
right.
at 11, you have this. It teaches you how to be a good worker.
But that's the thing. That's why women are so good at school. That's why women are so good at school. Women are good at school because they are taught to follow directions,
Yes.
and they turn in their assignments on time, and they
Yeah.
come to school on time,
Yeah.
and they make sure they do what they're told to do. And so they excel. Whereas young boys, they are more adventurous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is a neuroscience behind it
Yeah.
that says the frontal precortex of a boy is developed 1 to 2 years after
Yeah.
a girl's.
Yeah.
And that part of the brain is actually like the CEO of your brain, right? And so when little girls go to school, they already know what to do, and they're already at that level where they're able to follow directions and follow through with it.
Yeah.
Whereas young boys, they are still kind of figuring it out. They're still developing that part of their brain, and they're still seeking that thrill and adventure. And, they still want to explore
Yes. Yes.
and be
Yes.
active.
Yes. And that's why when you are in school, it was exactly that for me. I was going to school for my friends, to
Yeah.
chill,
Yeah.
to enjoy, and I didn't find any purpose on all those different courses. Yeah, of course I like different matter, like I like history,
Yeah.
but not the one they were teaching me. I like different things, of course, but the fact that to say that, oh my God, I'm going to school today. No, I'm just going to see my friend. When we are there, that's it. You
Yeah.
know, and now I understand because I see as well that when I was watching the girls, even the girls who wasn't good were better than us.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Another factor, I was talking about that with my mom. During our parents' generation time, at I would say at 20 years old, they were looking to build a house.
Yeah.
Our dad was already working at 15 years old, 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they, even if we are still in the materialistic and capitalism system, they had still, I think they were the last generation to think about before everything, I need to make my family safe and I
Yeah.
need to put my family under a roof.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was the last generation.
It's funny that you say that, because the I'm in two minds about what you're saying.
Okay.
Only because they had to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they had to do that because that is what life gave them. And they had to start earlier. Whereas now a lot of young people have the luxury of chilling at home and to have a childhood, and they're not steered in the direction of get married, build a family, build a house, and find a good job. They are, but it's more like find yourself first. Go play with your friends. Go do your basketball. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel they're very much protected in this generation from the pain that our parents felt from seeing, let's say, some dysfunction, or if they grew up in poverty or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Our parents were not necessarily as protected, and that's why they had to take life by the horns at 15
I think
and
there was that.
contribute.
I
Yeah.
think there's that, but to defend my point, I feel like as well, before, if my father was talking with his friends or whatever,
Yeah.
if you don't have a house, if your family is not under a roof, you're not a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, that's not what we ask you.
But
That's
we
not what we
do,
ask you.
though, and that's the entire problem.
They even ask you how much people you have on Instagram. Even if you have a family, they could talk about
Okay.
video game, and we're going to talk about that as well. Like you said, I think the purpose of, or even your main goal, have changed as well. You know what? The family come after different things. I don't say it's last yet,
Well,
but it's going to be last in the next generation. But the family goals go further, 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 further. Now, for example, when we are growing and we are 25, yeah, we maybe we want a family,
right.
but that's not our first goal. It's also because of the system, because the system asks you to have even more money to raise a family. So now, before to raise a family, you think about how much you're gonna need to have to even just eat,
Right.
not to buy a house, because even that we're gonna talk about it as well. Now, before you buy a house at 29, now the average people who buying a house, it's 47
Yeah, in America, that's
in
insane.
America.
That's insane.
47.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is how life change as well. This is how the system shape our vision of our priority in life. And that's
Exactly.
why as well I feel like family, like build family and make family safe, and it's go further, further, further in terms of your different goals and what you have achieved before to have a family.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. You buy a house later, you get married later,
Yeah.
birth rates are down, all of that. I agree with you. It's just, I feel it's more complex than that.
Yeah, of course.
It's more complex than that because when you ask a woman what she wants, that's what she wants. For the most part, she don't care about your Instagram
And
following.
we talk about
She
we
wants,
talk about men.
but I'm getting to that.
Okay.
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what she wants from her man. The problem is, though, that the expectations of this,
Yeah.
these expectations of men in this generation are too heavy a burden to bear. And I see that because they have too much time to think. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our parents' generation didn't have time to ponder and reflect. Okay? They had life and they got it done because it was survival. But ask your dad if anybody asked him ever how he felt. I don't think so.
Yeah.
He those feelings of inadequacy and mental wellness probably manifested in different ways. You know, no, I don't think he ever sat down and anybody ever cared enough to say, hey, how you feeling about something?
Yeah, of
You
course.
know, whereas now we have a lot of time to think. We have a lot of time to ponder. And we have a lot of time to escape into things that are not productive.
Yeah,
And such as video games,
yeah,
such as watching the Andrew Tates
yeah,
who mislead you in your direction
yeah,
of what you're supposed to do as a man. Because the thing is, the messaging now is more so about status, is more so about, you know, to be a man, you have to be assertive. To be a masculine, you have to be aggressive. To be a man, you have to be different from a woman, you know, and none of that. And then it's all about making money and not having feelings still, you know. And acquiring wealth by any means necessary. But it's not just regular wealth.
yeah,
It's like everything is so grandiose. So even just having an apartment or a motorcycle or a car is mediocre. You're nothing,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And that's the part, because we put this pressure on these boys, but at the same time, they have a lot of time
But they have a lot. They have a,
because we let them.
it's not that. I don't think it's the time. I don't think it's the time who's the problem. It's what they do with this time. Because the problem is like they have so much, like you said, uh, role model who mislead them, and when on this time they use this time to follow those people.
Yeah.
They use this time to do those video game or
Right.
whatever they can do to escape as well. But also social media plays such a good part in this
Yeah.
because as when you're lost, your mind is open for guidance.
Yeah.
Your brain, your whole body is open for guidance. You know what I mean? You're gonna see different people talk about different subject who maybe gonna touch you. You're gonna follow them. You don't know them. You're not gonna listen to your parents, but you're gonna follow a stranger. You know, and it's totally normal because he's gonna teach you some things, or because he's gonna show you his mansion, because he's gonna show you how many followers he have or how many million he make. You
Right.
know, so you're
Right.
gonna follow them, and we don't even know who are those people. We don't even. I already said that. You see someone tell you that they make $1 million in 1 month, but they didn't tell you that they sell humans or something like that behind. You know what I mean? Or what they did to reach this. You know.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to find a role model and be addict to him because that as well we've been addicted to those people, not
Right.
just to the social media, but addict to what they said because now they talk to us. They are sitting in front of the camera like us, and they talk to you like that, you know. And it's in your phone every day when you're sleeping, when you're in the toilet, everywhere. So you know those social media influencer, social media podcast as well for some of them mislead the boys, change the perception of life, change the perception of goals, of values, and what should be important for you to grow, become a man, but also for your mental health.
Well, it's a culture of comparison. And
Exactly.
and before you could only compare yourself to a limited number of people because you didn't have
Yes.
exposure to others. And now you're comparing yourself to other 21-year-olds who happen to have made it big from, one TikTok post or
Yeah, yeah,
whatnot. And
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's very demotivating and
Very,
depressing.
very. And you know, when we talk about Andrew Tate, when we talk about all those guys, they don't say something new. The way they talk about misogyny or how men should be, the masculinity and all those subjects, they were saying it as well before. There were other guy even more before in the time of our parents or grandparents. It was even more about this, you know. But the fact is that now you have so much. You have them next to you whenever you want. You feel like they are with you, they understand you, they talk to you.
Because that is
You know?
a strategic
That is exactly.
a strategic ploy, because that's the thing. Like Andrew Tate, and you actually showed me this ages ago. He never used to look like this. He didn't talk like this.
Yeah.
His personality wasn't like this.
Yes.
It was only like it's only now that he blew up. He realized what works. He
He
realized what
figured it
works.
out.
Exactly.
And
And
I
the
talked to
thing
you. I remember when I talked to you about
I
that. I remember I
remember.
told you, this guy, you see how this guy talk. You're gonna see how many people are gonna follow him, because we were watching an interview of
I
him,
remember.
and he wasn't that famous, but he was appearing everywhere in our social media.
Right.
So I could see how he paid the ads
Right.
for this interview,
Right.
and also he realized that if he shocked people
Yeah, people
and
will be
say things,
interested.
even the one who don't like him, it's okay. Buzz, bad buzz, it buzz.
It's true, but also his strategy is very interesting, because even in the beginning for me, I would say, "Oh, he makes great points." And I thought he did. I really thought he did. And just because, all his points aren't bad doesn't mean that he's not a bad role model. And that's the trouble with this, because they start to lead with positive messaging. They start to lead with some sort of empathy or understanding, and then bam, they hit you with something that is toxic, that is a message that doesn't actually help you progress. It just helps you come back to his channel.
Yeah.
And that part is something that just I had to figure out for myself. Is just because, I'm going to compare him to a serial killer, but just because a serial killer, opens a door for an old lady doesn't make him less of a serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, people have good and people have bad. And the essence of this message that he projects is bad. It's bad for young men who are already vulnerable to the external, I guess, impact of the world, who are alone. They will take what he says as gospel, and they will consume whatever he says, and then they'll go out
Yeah.
into the world and practice
And
it
practice it.
and get shut down again.
And get shut out down, but they're still gonna practice it. They're still
Right.
gonna to death. Because that's their role model.
Yeah.
And when he talk, and if you're lost, you really believe in what he said.
Yeah.
Because he have a way to say it. And as they teach you that masculinity should be like you with muscle, be like that, and talk like, how to say that, aggressive, be aggressive and dominant, conqueror. I don't say that you cannot have the mindset of conqueror. It depends how you conquer. You know what I mean?
And what you're conquering.
And what you're conquering. Exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean? The problem with those people on social media is that after a certain amount of followers and the way they became big, even before, I feel, they start to follow the data, and their argument follow.
It's bias. It's biased to the data.
Yeah, bias to the data. Exactly. So that means even if they think that this situation should be a certain way, they're not going to tell you that.
Right.
They're going to tell you what you want to hear by the fact that they know exactly what you want, because they have your data. They have people, they have a team who work for this. You know what I mean? So, of course, when you're going to listen to it, you're going to feel like, wow, this guy understand me. And they're going to play on it. And that's why I feel that this is disgusting, because you play with young boy, you transform them, and you don't care, because you are, I don't know where in your mansion, taking money from different affiliation and everything, and even more your businesses, and you guide young men and even older men, actually, because you talk about young men, but how many
Well,
father
mental
as well?
wellness
Yeah.
impacts everybody.
How many
So
father as well are also a part of this as well? You lead them to nothings.
You just have to be a little bit vulnerable. You just have to be a little bit lonely. You just have to be a
Yeah.
little bit down to listen to somebody's bad advice.
Yes.
And that's the thing, like, even, as you're talking, I'm over here thinking about how, a lot of men these days as well, boys, men, they struggle. They struggle to talk to a girl even, because of their
Yeah.
anxiety and their,
Yeah.
depression or whatever they're dealing with. Even doesn't even have to be anything clinical or anything, you know, that's that high on the spectrum. It's just you're feeling a little down, you're feeling a little shy, you're feeling scared. And then you go and you listen to Andrew Tate, who tells you to take what you want and be assertive and show up with confidence. And when you don't have other male role models, you might misinterpret that information into aggression, to taking what you want. You might interpret that into something that might hurt somebody else. And then you might interpret it, oh, well, women like men who are aggressive and mean, Oh, just because she said no doesn't mean
Doesn't
it
mean.
meant
Yeah.
no for real.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say, oh, no, but, they mean yes. And so you are manipulating the state of young boys. And I don't think a lot of young boys want to act that way. And then when they do, and then they get shut down or they get in trouble or they get, you know, ostracized from a society
Yeah.
because they're behaving in that way,
Yeah.
they are confused even more. And there is nobody to explain it to them. There's nobody who they want to listen to explain it to them.
When we are lost, this system work even better. Like I said, when we are lost, we are good consumer. And it's not just consumer about material. It's consumer about everything. Social media, video games, everything. We are more ready to consume whatever it is in front of us, not just to forget our mental health issues,
Right.
but to also find a purpose because we don't have goals, because we
Yeah.
feel lost in this world. Because in this world, when you watch the social media, you've seen so many examples of people who apparently are successful in life from doing nothings, by the way.
Right. Right.
And it's so easy. But when you are in the real world, it's so hard, even for you just to find a job.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. That's the thing. It's young men, they're even afraid to start a conversation sometimes because they're
Yeah,
they're just struggling internally.
we don't know.
Right.
We
They're
don't know.
struggling internally to even make contact. And it doesn't help that everything is so digital. It doesn't help that we don't get to play with children as children, outside of school, really. And we don't know how to interact with one another. Even if I think about boys from, who have fathers, a lot of the time there's a lot of, it's I think it's getting better in some cases now. A lot of men are attempting to teach their boys how to feel and feel empathy and things like that. Like I've seen a
I've
change.
seen I've seen some change as well.
Yeah, I've seen
Some
some
changes as
change,
well.
but still, there are a lot of men who think that crying is not for boys and blue is for boys.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
and that, as a boy, you can't play this game or you have to play that game, or the father is wanting the young man to mimic his goals and aspirations instead of being his own person.
Yeah.
There's a lot of judgment happening and a lot of direction to suppress your emotions. Now there's the problem, I think, with the way that society is. We're either too left field or too right field. We're either like, oh yeah, don't be a wimp, don't be a little bitch, or we're like, be the aggressor and conqueror and fuck everybody and everything. And it's like, that is not masculinity on either spectrum.
Of course, of course. But that's how the society is built, and that's what the problem. Who created this society of patriarchal capitalism and everything? Who creates this system? Man. And now the negative part of this system come back to the young boys and the boys and the men themselves.
Yeah, but that's also because that's right. And it's all
That's the
of the
thing.
things we mentioned, all of the things we mentioned, there is, because there's a lack of community, there's a lack of trust.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
if you want to build a community, there's a lack of trust.
Yes.
People who are feeling low fundamentally don't trust people, right? Because they've been disappointed before, or they
Yes.
haven't had people to rely on, you know? And so when you don't trust people, you kind of can't move forward because you have to trust people to some extent to improve your mental wellness, right?
Yeah.
And when you suppress all these feelings and when you don't allow anybody in, we're creating a whole generation of men with avoidant attachment styles, which is not helpful in relationships.
Avoidant mindset.
Yeah,
Avoidant even
period.
avoidant mindset. Everything is soon as you have to deal with it emotionally, avoid it. Find
Right,
some things to forget it.
right,
Find some things to be in 2 hours or 3 hours a day like that. You don't even think about your problem. It's
right.
better.
It's crazy to me because, we talked about how men or young boys don't have role models in education, and they're not necessarily turning to education. We talked about how there's like the least amount of men in the workforce
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there ever has been. Like in the last 50 years, men are making less than they did 50 years ago. Men are, there's a drop in the acquisition of skills for men, even traineeships.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is less men in the workforce. There's less men that are being educated. There's less men in training, and it's kind of wild because there's a 13% gap between men and women now in inequality in the favor of the woman, whereas 50 years ago it was 13% in the favor of the man.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of these people talking about how the movement of women's equality has somehow negatively impacted men and making men feel not needed. And therefore, the mental health issues are rising because men don't feel needed. And I don't want to be not empathetic to that. But how is somebody's success your failure? And it's the mindset that we're instilling in young men.
Yeah. You touch a point.
Because, right.
You touch a big point because, and I already said that many times, they create patriarchal society because they understand that to rules as they want, they need to have the full power. Because equal to equal, women go faster than men.
Right. Well,
That's a fact.
I've heard a lot
That's a
of
fact.
people say that they didn't expect women to surpass men. Like a lot of the research we did, a lot of the podcasts we
And
watched, a lot of the
of course,
psychologists, it's like, oh, we
of
didn't
course.
expect women to reach equality so quickly.
Of course, because you see how many rules that they did to block and to stop the freedom of women. You see how many rules there were before for the women
Yeah.
to be uneducated, for the women to don't be able to vote, for the women and even if you go further, there weren't even citizens in the cities.
Right.
There were just people. There were just some things to make child,
I mean,
who make child.
right.
But in ancient civilization, because this is new civilization. In ancient civilization, Africa, China, I don't know much about China, but when I learned about Africa, I see that women were rulers, women were scientists, doctor, and everything. You know, so that's why I said when you want to make a war between the gender, then you have all those problems. Because if you make a war between the gender, you create insecurity in one of them.
That's exactly right.
And it's the men who have the insecurity. So that's why they were scared about the woman, because they wanted the power, not the community. They wanted the power for
Yeah.
certain people, for elite part of the people.
I have a hard time with it because we had to suppress a whole gender for another gender to get ahead. And now that, women are catching up, mind you, a lot of the statistics that we read were positioned in the sense that, women are surpassing men and, men are making less than ever before. Men are still making more than women for the same jobs.
Yes, they
you
make
know?
sure for that. Yeah.
And this messaging again is geared towards men feeling victimized. I want men to be heard. I want them to feel empowered.
Yeah.
I want them to have confidence and to go out and be in this world confidently and be successful. Of course I do. And this is not, it's not anything to say against, men versus women. It's just more to say there is enough room for everyone.
Yes.
And the messages that I've seen on social media and just through research alone, and all of these podcasters who are talking about men's mental wellness, they are blaming women's equality and, lack of male figures in the household, which is it is a big point. Those are all valid points, but that's not the root
That's not
cause
the
of
root.
the issue.
They never talk about the roots of the issue.
That's not the root cause of the issue.
They never talk about it, and that pisses me off a lot, because there is people who they call themselves specialized or
Right.
researcher from Harvard or whatever,
Right.
wherever schools, But if you come from those schools, you have access to different research as well. You have access to book from the history, And the thing is, like, those people research, make science, but with prejudices in their mind. And that's the problem. They don't make research for humanity. They make research with their prejudices in their mind. So that means if you have a result of some things, if it doesn't go with your mindset and your vision, you will be capable to dismiss it and choose the one that you want and expose it to the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also I think everybody, as much as deeply as they go, they're very focused on, impacts that are going on right now, and it's very surface level. It's very surface level. Like nobody's like they are talking about the fact that, the breakdown of the family and the fact that, men are against women and all of that stuff. And that is one of the root causes, is the breakdown of the family for sure.
Yeah. The way.
Right, exactly. And so sometimes addressing the root cause makes the people who are suffering now feel like the problem is too big to address, and it's only going to start healing in the next generation if we do the work.
Then be a part
That's what I mean.
of the one who start the
Right.
healing. That's the problem as well. We cannot fix everything in 1 year, 2 years, even 50 years.
Right.
But you can be a part of the one who start to build, to rebuild. You could be one of the men who rebuild, who were a part of the rebuilding. It's
right.
even important. But everyone want to be on top. Everyone want to be the leader.
But people have no idea just how many people are suffering from mental health issues. People have no idea.
No.
People don't know that 800,000 people per year commit
Commit
suicide.
suicide. We all have mental health issues, trust me.
It just takes
I feel
one
that.
thing. It takes one thing. That's every 40 seconds somebody kills themselves. Somebody decides that they're a burden to the people around them. Somebody decides that it's better to not live. That is absolutely unacceptable.
I just figured out as well, as we are talking, that we all have mental health issue.
At one
If you
point,
think about it,
yeah.
trauma get passed generation after generation. The
Yes.
way those civilized I would say those the way those civilization or the way that those cities, those big cities that you see now, or Europe, US, Australia, the way they are built. You remember how those countries are built?
Slavery, colonization,
Blood,
suffering, blood.
blood. So if trauma get passed generation after generation, not only the oppressed people got trauma, but the killers or the people who kills or do atrocity pass those trauma as well. You know what I mean? So if you think about it, we can have trauma from
It's just a different kind of trauma.
exactly. So imagine on top of the society that we are living now, who's a hot mess for me. I feel like in certain
Right,
way
aspect. Yeah, yeah.
aspect. Imagine we all have
We're carrying
we're carrying
generational trauma on top
exactly,
of everything that happens in this world today.
and that's why all those race hierarchy, all those different things would divide us. You know, it's because this system need that to function.
I mean,
You
race,
know
religion, gender, what else?
exactly. So men who are lost, men who need help, men who try to figure it out, gonna go outside and find the wrong advices because it's everywhere. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It's hard, but that's the thing.
it is.
You need to
It's
come.
actually devastating.
Yes.
It's actually devastating. It's devastating because we watched that TED Talk, and it just made me think men who are going through something have to show up to life and pretend like nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And that is 1,000 times more for Black men.
There is a difference.
And I wanted to ask your experience as a Black man. How do you think it was different dealing with issues in life and traumas in life? Do you feel that it was more difficult? Do you feel that you had to act differently? Do you feel like you still have to act differently?
No, not anymore. Because I know who I am and I make the research and the work and I'm still doing it. But this is the difference, and there will be a different example of mine because I live a certain way, and maybe another Black man as well will live in a certain way, you know. So we will have different approach of this, but for sure there is a difference between Black men and minority mental health issue than white men mental health issue. Don't say that one it's bigger than another,
It's just different,
but
yeah.
it's a different one. Okay, first you have a whole system educational the educational system, so school, the movies, and I would say sometimes your parents as well. You have all of this who, how to say, put ideas and history and different factor who shape your mindset. So at one point, when you are living in France, England, Europe, or wherever out of Africa, and you are an African, you see that being black, it's not a blessing, but the contrary. You seen that they teach you your history by starting by the slavery. You see that when you watch a movie, you are never the main character, always the first to die. That
It's
was
not
before.
funny.
That
Yeah,
was
that was
before.
both.
That was before.
Yeah.
Or in a gang, in prison, all those type of things. You know, um, when your mom or your dad talk to you, they talk when you have your language, your language from your tradition. They're gonna tell you don't talk like that in public. Otherwise, you're never gonna find a job. When you have your hair and they told you cut your hair because you're not gonna have a job. You know what I mean? When you have all those things would diminish who you are,
Right.
even more than diminish. You know, I don't have the
Right.
word for it. But when you have all those things, you condition when you're growing, you want to be accepted. So some of the black men, I talk for the black men because it's worse for the women, but for some of the black men, and I was one of them, and consciously we want to be accepted. You know, so we're gonna do certain things to look less like us naturally. Curly our hair, uh, um, try to when we move and we go to France or we go to other country, try to be accepting in a group of other people, white people, try to do what they do, eat what they eat, and consciously, be with a white woman, oh, I talk about things, I talk for real, you know until you wake up and you start to learn from yourself. Because I had this, and but inside me I always feel like there is something. I always feel that something is missing in me. You know
But how was that for your mental wellness? Like, did you
that
feel like, I know you say something is missing, but was there anything that you like? Did you have anxiety, or did you feel like some sort of, was it anything that you can pinpoint now that you're kind of awakened?
it's more about the fear. It's more a type of fear. I wasn't fear about someone, but I fear something.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's until now I cannot name it. What was it?
Right.
But it's like something inside you. It's like a fear of something. So you have
Like a
to.
fear of judgment, or a fear of
Maybe
it.
it's that actually. Maybe
Yeah.
a fear of judgment of
Yeah.
different thing that I was doing, or or my physical aspect. Not much my skin, but more about my hair or certain things. At one point. And you know, like I said, it's all those things that this society put in you who shaped the way you view yourself as well. You know, I wasn't seeing myself like I see myself now. You know, I couldn't
Right.
anyway because I didn't have any example. And also on top of it, we were fighting against each other as black men. That's why we are fighting against each other because we want so much to be accepted by the white man because we are living in white country. Then you fight against I would say your people as well. Even more. Because the same way they think, the same way you see how they think about you is the same way after you replicate this to your own people. You know?
So you're kind of saying, you know, you're I'm just trying to understand it. So
Yeah.
when you're living in a Western society
Yeah.
where, you are a minority,
Yes.
you're either your main goal is to assimilate, which I can understand. Assimilation is
Yeah.
important because every human needs to feel like they're a part of a community and feel like they belong in something, right? We're social creatures, so that makes sense.
Yes.
And if you're already vulnerable because you are the minority,
Yeah.
and is very clear by the way people treat you,
Yeah.
you're either going to try to assimilate by essentially whitewashing parts of your personality
Yeah.
or aesthetically,
Yeah.
or you're going to take that feeling, anxiety, fear into your own hands and maybe turn into other groups that make you feel like you belong, like maybe gangs, or
Oh
so
yeah.
it's
Whatever.
it's
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
whatever at that moment, at that vulnerable moment, makes you feel powerful,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
or makes you feel like you have some sense of control. And if I just go back to young boys of
Yeah.
all colors
Yeah.
and ethnicities, it just seems that what young boys have in common is they just want to belong. They want to have a sense of direction.
Yes.
So as a young man, when something happens to you in a society that's a Western society,
Yeah.
and you're not allowed to talk about your emotions. You're just, made to kind of feel like you just have to suck it up
Yeah.
and, grow a pair and be strong, and show up to school or show up to work being okay. One day when you explode, everybody's talking about how this guy is not okay, how he's a criminal, or how he's crazy, or how he's, everybody's putting judgment on the reaction rather than on the the cause.
Of course.
And the cause is, I mean, we all know, like, you put too much pressure in a in a bottle or something, it's gonna explode. Like, if you open up the top, like, it just takes one little thing to trigger you after years and years of suppressed emotion and suppressed feeling.
So true. We are not curious anymore, and that's
Right.
another problem. We don't go to find why. We have the result of some things. We have a reaction from someone. We have the final result of something, but we never go to find the root.
Right.
And that's also something that this society do very well. They, this system, more than the society, this system know how to cut the history
Yeah.
and start wherever they want. Like that, if you don't know why it start, you will never find the solution. So it's the same way when you said someone go to work every day, and one day he explode. Of course, as a co-worker, we're not gonna go find the name of our co-worker, find where come from his family and everything, and see that he had different problem. His mom or his dad wasn't there, whatever. And since many years, he have this, and now he explode. We're just gonna have the conclusion that this guy is crazy. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
but it's the same for everything in our life. So when it's for ourselves, we don't even are curious anymore to go to search.
We are more curious about the celebrity who committed suicide.
Yeah, and go to find why.
Right.
Why?
And not saying that people can't feel sad when they're rich, and not to say that this is not,
Contrary.
yeah, this is not to uh kind of dismiss anybody's mental health issues,
No, no.
or struggles or traumas in life,
Yeah.
because everybody's is real, and everybody feels things differently. It's just more to say that when you're thinking about mental health, you're thinking about, you know, usually the white celebrity or the person that you idealize, or you know, we have a lot of empathy for these people.
Yeah.
Um, and
Because they
like you
glorify
said,
them.
it's true, but
Because they
also
glorify.
it's because of the way that things are positioned. It's like what you said, like we have a really interesting way of positioning things in social media and in media period.
Period. Yeah.
Because for example, you post a story, that's a second in time. You could be, with your wife, and your wife could have slapped you and yelled at you 20 seconds ago
Yeah.
and told you to smile in the photo. No, but I'm
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
serious.
For
Like
sure.
it
For sure. For sure.
happens.
For
And
sure.
women do that to men too. Like it's not,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
told you to smile. And then everyone's like, wow, what a beautiful couple. Look at them. They're
Yeah.
always
Of course.
together. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So it's like we take this snippet in time and we're just like, this is the reality, And it's we see these celebrities and they're smiling, like Robin Williams, for example. What an amazing actor, funny guy, making everybody laugh. And then he took his own life,
Yeah.
and it's devastating. But there is people living today
Yeah.
with those same burdens
Next to you.
who don't have, who have also financial stress on top of everything else
Yeah.
that they're feeling, but they're kind of just expected to keep it moving because that's what the train of society tells you to do. And if you explode, God forbid you hurt someone, of course, but if you explode, you are somehow, you are not the victim.
Yeah.
You are the aggressor. And that part is hard because nobody asks you what made you get to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's deep.
It's very deep.
It's deep.
It's very deep. And
It's very deep.
there is a saying that I really love, and it's, don't believe anything you hear and believe only half of what you see.
Yeah.
And that's exactly that. That's
Yes.
exactly that, because even what you see isn't always exactly what it is. It's not the truth.
Of course.
And even the things that you hear,
Yeah.
they're just perspectives of different people.
That's
They're
exactly
half
that.
truths,
Yes.
And so it's really, really important to understand that the unseen,
The unseen world is bigger than the world that you see.
right,
The metaphysic.
the feeling, the emotion, everything,
Everything's
spirit, all of
energy,
that stuff,
everything's-
energy, all of that stuff is like, we are so busy in this busy world and lifestyle. We don't have those intuitions anymore.
No, because the focus is on the material.
Exactly.
The focus is on the material and what you possess.
Right.
And that's why rich people have a lot of mental issue,
Right.
mental health issue. Because why? Because money doesn't bring happiness.
But it's also like this culture of comparison is not limited to people who are struggling economically.
Yeah.
I'm sure Kim Kardashian gets upset that Kylie made more money than her this year because, you know what I'm saying?
Of course,
It's
of
crazy.
course.
They're,
Of course,
millionaires,
of course.
billionaires, whatever the hell they are. But, this person is bigger than me. And then
Oh, I
this
can see
person
that
is
those
bigger
people
than me.
have-
And,
I can see.
constantly trying to outdo each other.
Yes. Yes.
And so just to kind of close it off before we get into some more deep stuff, to be a man, from what I see, is like you're either like this misogynistic aggressor in this society, or you're like an Elon Musk,
Yeah.
or like a Bill Gates, who has
Yeah.
to be like a super duper genius billionaire.
Yeah.
And those are the only two options, and everything
Yeah.
else is mediocre is not good.
Yeah.
And normal's not good.
Yeah.
And working hard is not good. So men just throw their hands up and say, well, both of these are unattainable, and I'm just gonna exist like a tree and not do nothing.
Now, even the tree have a big existence. So It's even not a good example.
I just well, okay, a tree maybe it needs, sunshine
I
and it
know.
needs rain
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But
Exactly. Yeah.
um
You mean like just there to be there.
right.
But yeah, if you have no purpose in life, you're not gonna go nowhere. If you don't go nowhere as a human, then you have even more mental health issue because we need goals. We are on earth for something.
Yes, and you know what else we need? And I'm gonna say that as a woman, we need women.
Oh,
Men need women. We need each other. And we need to both be as concerned about men's mental health as men are. We
nothing's
both
gonna
need to
work.
care. Yes.
Nothing's gonna work if you don't introduce women in the equation of the solution on how to fix or how to deal with mental health issue
Yes.
for men.
Yes.
The woman is one of the solution.
And the woman needs to take it from a woman's perspective. We need to be more empathetic. We need to be more compassionate. We need to allow a space for men to feel safe and to trust us to share these things.
But to that, we need to stop make the war. It's the same
Right.
circle, you see?
Right.
To create the safe space or to be able to make the girl feel safe, we need to create
Right.
the safe space for them as men.
Right.
If you feel that you're scared or if you feel that you're not in security with me, you're not gonna be able to give me this chance to help me.
Right. Right.
Because you're not gonna be in condition.
That's
So it's the whole circle.
That's the thing. We think that men and women need to be opposite, but no, men and women are complementary. So
Yes.
if a good man is a strong man, does that mean that women are weak? No. A good man is a strong man. A good woman is a strong woman. And so that is the mindset that needs to be adopted.
A strong man without a strong woman cannot be a strong man. If you
Right.
start by this way, you change your view. People are gonna say, "Why talk about? Why talk about?" But think about it.
It's true.
Think about it. If you don't have a strong woman next to you, you cannot be a strong man.
That's facts. That's facts.
The rest we follow. No.
No, but it's
But
the
it's
same
true,
because
true.
if men are leaders, it doesn't mean that women have to be followers.
Exactly.
Women can also be leaders, and that is the mindset that we need to start adopting.
Women should be president. Women should be president. You know why? Because women not gonna make war for material. Because the woman, when there is war, she's the first who have to deal with the death of their son and daughters. So there is many things that they are not gonna allow.
They're not willing to risk.
You know what I mean. So they will. That's why in ancient civilization, women were the rulers. Anyway, talk
There you
about it in
go.
another subject.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who could benefit. Tune into our next episode. You will not want to miss it.
And until next time, fam, take care and nurture your relationships.
Relate right.